Welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and welcome back to another video. Today is a pretty special video. We're going to be going over how to upgrade your comic book Grail, or any comic book key for that matter. But before we get into this video, guys, I want to remind you, if you are not a current subscriber of the channel and have been enjoying some of my content, do me a favor and click that subscribe button for me. It does help the channel out. I want you to smash that like button on the way out too, because it helps the algorithm out. And for you guys, turn on the notification bell. It will let you guys know when I post new videos. So we're going to start in this video talking about my process. We're going to talk about people in the hobby, talking about letting the hobby fund itself and what exactly does it mean and how I interpret it and what my process is about collecting comics and then flipping comics into upgrading my books into bigger books or other books. So like I said, I'm going to tell you my process, and my process starts with knowing the books that I want to buy, okay? Whether it's a smaller key, whether it's a bigger key, Marvel, DC, independent, whatever it is that you're into, I go after books that I know have value to them, either at that time when they're undervalued or if they're at full value at the time period that I'm buying them, if that makes sense. My process starts with a worksheet. My worksheet includes basically the book itself that I bought, a little bit about the book, the significance of the book, the price I pay for that book, and of course the price that I sell the book for, and of course my margin in between, which is how much I actually make off purchasing and selling that book for what I sold the book. Or sometimes I lose money as well. If it's a book that I find out, you know what, it's not really the kind of book I want to own. Sometimes they do make mistakes, or it could be a book that maybe has gone down in value after I purchased it. Regardless, this is my process. And I think charting what you buy is a really important step if you're going to flip books, if you're going to upgrade your books down the line. Knowing what you paid, knowing what you spent to have books graded, what you spend on supplies, stuff like that, all comes into the process. Now, my charting system for the most part is just going to give you what I paid for the book, minus fees if I sell a book. So if I sold a book on eBay, I take the fees off. So the prices you guys see on this list are the prices I paid after the fees come off, okay? And you'll see some negatives, you'll see some positives. I'm not going to give you the whole list because it's a massive list. So you can see that I've gone over the years and I've purchased a ton of books. You can see right now all you see is Amazing Spider-Man, and that's just A. It goes all the way down to Z. So believe it or not, I've been at this for a while. I don't buy books to flip them. I rarely do that. However, when I first got back into collecting comic books, I would pick up keys that I thought had a chance of going up in value. I also collected keys just because I wanted to own them. So let's not forget that fact. I am a comic book collector. I want to own most of the first appearances out there I can get if I enjoy those characters. Now, with that said, years down the line, I've kind of changed what I'm doing a little bit. I can't really collect every freaking character out there. There's just too much books. There's too many things in my small little room here. I can't keep everything. So what I've decided to do over the past couple of years is focus on the books that I really care about. Focus on the books that I think have a real chance of going up in value, that I actually also have sentimental value to it. Especially now with the market being where it is, it's going to take time for the books to go up now, right? When I first got back in collecting 6 years ago, 5 years ago, everything was still undervalued. I'd find books that I think were really cheap and that should be higher, so I'd buy them every chance I got. It's not like that anymore. We kind of really have to focus on the things that we like and the things that we focus on, you know, for 20 to 30 years down the line. What will they be then? Not what will they be now? As far as my memory goes, I went back for when I collected comics 30, 40 years ago. Let's say 30 years ago, okay? Let's say that. Let's not say 40, but where was the comic collecting community then? What was involved then? CGC was probably just getting started around that time. So it was a lot different. People's lives change in the meantime, so you always fall out of stuff, you come back into stuff. So there's a lot that goes involved into doing this. So don't ever forget that, because there is a process. But then if this is not something you're going to love over the next large portion of your life, it's going to be very hard to do. But regardless, like I said, I collected comic years and years ago, and I got back into about 6-7 years ago, and this is what I did. I charted everything that I bought for the most part. Like the $5-10 books, for the most part, I don't track that stuff. It's just stuff I want to keep, hey, in like a short box somewhere that I may read. I collect Amazing Spider-Man runs, stuff like that. Those things I really try not to put on here, but there are some on here as well. With that said, guys, timing is a big part of upgrading books, right? I was fortunate, and I think a lot of collectors are fortunate to get back into that hobby, at the right time when the MCU hit. Maybe when we got halfway through the MCU for the first 10 years. That was probably, in my opinion, the best time to buy this stuff. But again, everything is cyclical. There will be cycles again to buy things. So if you're willing to hold on to some of these books, you're going to get a great reward, and you'll be able to turn that reward into maybe a bigger book, an upgraded book, anything you want. You could sell the books and just keep the money in your bank account. But as a collector, as somebody who loves comics and has a really big attachment to these characters, I buy bigger books because that's just what I do. Eventually, I'll leave the books to somebody, or I'll sell a lot of them as I get older, but it'll be damn hard to do. I would probably keep some of them for myself to right up till the end, but regardless, that's my process. That's what I do. But that leads me to where we are today. So I have a nice little upgrade here that I'm going to share with you guys today. But again, like I said, the most important thing that I'm going to take away from this is chart what you buy, right? If you're just getting into the hobby, and let's say you buy a Hulk 181 and you buy a 2.0 and it's a low grade copy, and someday you want to upgrade that book, put it away, chart what you paid for it, and then wait for the next opportunity that the right time is, where the book has come at a higher price, it has sold, things are selling at a next higher price, and you'll be able to say, I'll get a decent return on this, I'll sell this book now, and I'll come back and I'll put that money to a higher grade at some point. Now, people will argue that, hey, if that book is going to go up at this price, it's selling at this price, it has gone up, you're going to end up upgrading into a higher price, into a higher grade. That's just the way it is sometimes. But do your due diligence. Search for the book and the price range that's going to be right for you, right? I've definitely upgraded a ton of books over my collecting life span, as you say. This is not my first rodeo. So again, I've been shouting for the past maybe 3 or 4 months, the market has come in. These are the things you should be buying, because these are the books I believe that down the line, you're going to get the best return, and you'll be able to sell those books for profit and turn them into another book you may want in the future. But you have to be committed to doing it. You have to be comfortable doing it. Don't take your mortgage payment and buy a book that you're not going to be able to hold for the next time we get the comic boom. And it has been a while. I remember when I first got out of college in the 2000s, that was a little bit of a boom. I started picking up. I held on for a little bit, and I sold at the wrong time. And I vowed never to do that again if I came back in the hobby. I got back in. I was able to get in right as the MCU was starting, maybe a little bit after that. Things are starting to pick up. People were starting to talk about comics. Or a lot of YouTube channels were popping up talking about comics, including my own. A lot of speculation out there started. So again, it started to heat up. What I think is going to happen, we're never going to get to the point where we were back then, but you will see dips. Like right now, we're seeing a major dip, and I think a lot of the bigger keys right now you can have for cheaper prices. I do not know where this market is going to bottom, but however, if you buy a little bit here, buy a little bit there on the dips, you cannot go wrong if you're willing to hold for the long term. So I said, process and timing is a huge factor into doing this. Not everybody can throw around money at large books, at small books, whatever your thing is. For me, I don't like buying little books here and there and then having to sell a ton of books, right? I want to buy one decent sized book. I want to keep it, 1-2 books, keep it in my collection. When it's the time to sell, I sell it and I roll it into one book that I really want to own. So if you have 2 books that are $1,000 each and they go up 50%, they're worth $1,500 now each. Now all of a sudden you have $3,000 instead of $1,000 to spend on a book. Now you can upgrade to a different book. That's how it works. It's hard. It is not easy to do. It is not easy to chart everything you buy. It is not easy to hold through the ups and downs of the markets, and it's not easy to time the market either. But from my opinion, now I think is a decent time to buy. We still may get a bigger dip with the MCU, using a lot of its bigger characters. But guess what? The secondary big characters are going to be coming. The Ghost Riders, the Punishers, all the Daredevils, all the stuff like that. The DC characters hopefully will start taking off real soon. So this is my advice, and this is how I upgrade my books. Again, it's a process, and I hope this video kind of gives you a little bit of an understanding of how I do it. But it's work. It's not easy. I've never actually gone to a con and sold stuff. Most of my stuff I sell on eBay. I sell through my Instagram account. Now, of course, I have my own website, mightycollects.com. So take every avenue that you have to sell books to do so, because you will be rewarded. I think the Instagram scene, if you are a part of Instagram, is a nice avenue to sell books because there are no fees. A lot of the community, if you're active in the community, they know you. I do trades with people, so it's an easy way to make more money than you would if you were selling on eBay and paying a 13% fee. There are other, like I said, auction houses where I've done videos talking about auction houses, or websites that can charge you 10%, stuff like that. If you want to make the most bang, try to sell on Instagram as long as you trust the people and as long as you have like a reputable profile on Instagram. That's the word that I'm looking for, profile. So be an active community member if you want to try something like this, because I do think it is beneficial. So now's the time to unbox something that I just purchased. It's an upgrade for me. So when I say an upgrade for me, the grade is technically lower than the grade I have now. So keep that in mind. Here it is. I purchased this book off of Instagram, off of somebody that I knew, not directly through the person, but through a service, somebody that I knew, and they hooked me up with this book for a good price. Now, again, this is a book that I personally wanted to upgrade. The copy that I have is awesome, don't get me wrong, but I wanted something specific with this book, and I was able to see it, offer a decent amount for it, and after a few back and forth, I was able to snag this from the seller. Super happy to have this book, because there are a few books that I own that I have personal attachments to. You guys know that. One is my Amazing Spider-Man. One is my Amazing Fantasy 15, signed by Stan Lee. And a few other in my case right here, my glass case. Those are probably my 4 biggest books that I own that I will probably cherish for most of my life. But it was important for me to get this book. Let me just show you what the hell it is. All right, after all that, getting this thing unboxed, this is what we're left with. So I'm going to unpack this bubble wrap and show you guys what I was able to upgrade. All right, so again, this is a personal upgrade for me. Like I said, the grade is actually lower, but this is an upgrade. You ready? So what I was able to roll into is a copy of Incredible Hulk #1, signed by the great Stan Lee. Now, why was this important to me? Well, first of all, this is one of my favorite and most iconic covers out there in Marvel, in comics altogether, and the Hulk being one of my favorite characters. It was important for me to get this book signed by Stan Lee. I do have a few Stan signatures, but they only mean something to me on some of his greatest work. The Hulk is definitely one of his greatest accomplishments, in my opinion. A classic cover, one of my favorite characters growing up. I'm going to take it out of this plastic sleeve. I will say this, that the case is scuffed. I knew that going in. It definitely needs to be reholdered. But again, a nice upgrade for me for this book. I currently also have a 1/8 copy of this book that is for sale, because I knew once I bought this one, I was probably going to have to let that one go. But that's part of the thing, right? Part of the thing for me is that I paid what I paid a couple of years back for that Incredible Hulk #1, and I actually got it, I think, for a really great deal. And now, the profit I'm going to get from that book, from buying it when I did, and realizing at that time that that book was undervalued. And it was, because you could have had a Hulk #1 for a steal just a couple of years ago. It was criminally underpriced for how scarce the book is, and for especially for how great the character is. But for now, to have this thing in my collection, definitely not going to crack this thing myself. Got to send this thing to CGC to get reholstered. And I think it will look great in a new case and a new yellow label. So, like I said, I was almost able to, and I haven't sold the book yet, but I think I'll be able to closely double my money on that book. And I roll it into this one, because although it's a lower grade, the way I figure with signature series books, especially Stan Lee series books, is that if you have a 1.5 blue label, Stan Sig maybe brings it to a 2.0 blue label. If you go look at some of the prices out there on GPA, they're very, very close. So 1.5 Stan signature is close to a 2.0 blue label. That's at least from some of the research that I did about where these books land with signatures. Now, that's not every signature. It's just Stan's signature for the most part. Some of the other ones, like John Romita, may get a hefty price tag as well, but that's about it. You don't really see too many Jack Kirby signatures, or that would probably be one as well, or Steve Ditko. Regardless, guys, timing is of the essence when you buy books. That's why I kind of scream from the rafters sometimes, saying, hey, when books come in, especially big ones, you got to pounce on the stuff. You guys saw me not too long ago buy a Fantastic Four #5, first appearance of Dr. Doom. Again, a book that is going to go up in the future. It may start dropping now because of where the comic market is. But again, I think long term, I think of upgrade. You guys know I have a Fantastic Four number 5 that's a 2.0 for sale that I bought way back when. So again, it's me rolling money into a bigger book, into a better grade. Sometimes I'm afforded to keep 2 copies of the book. Sometimes I'm not. When I get to the bigger ones, I try not to hold 2, even though if I can, it's definitely worth it, because in 20 years, those books will be worth even more. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and gives you a little bit of inkling into what I do and how I process my books, where I input stuff, how long I hold on to them, roughly 7 years or so. And then, of course, how I sell them and what I do with the money thereafter. I roll them into bigger books, because I think when you get to a certain point in a hobby, you can have a million books in long boxes, short boxes, but I'd rather have the bigger books and just have some of them behind me. Thank you guys for watching this video. It was kind of a long-winded one, but regardless, one announcement. I'm going to be at Gotham Underground. It is a comic shop over in Ramsey, New Jersey on July 16th. I will be there from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you're in the northern New Jersey area, do me a favor, stop on by, say hello. I will have some monster books for sale. I'll also have some smaller books as well for anybody who wants the smaller stuff. With that said, this is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.